Hey guys, welcome back to Admiral Reviews. So today I want to talk about My Hero Academia. Because lately My Hero Academia has been on just coasting. When we were looking back at the provisional license exam, My Hero Academia was just giving us, content, but it didn't really leave a big impression on us, I think the main focus was that they introduced the characters of Shiketsu and, Inasa. But, I think Inasa, because he was basically the main focus of that, that arc. But I think he didn't live up to the hype as I think the fandom was expecting. But now, totally different. This arc, we're being introduced to some crazy characters that I know are going to live up to the hype. So we finally got introduced to what the school considers the big three of UA. And the man in charge of the big three is called Mirio Toogata. I think that's how his name is pronounced. Don't quote me on that. But this guy is sick looking. The fact his whole appearance and character design is just cool as hell. The fact he looks like he's from like a comic book, a 70s comic book, but his body is, in tip-top performance. He almost looks like physique-wise, he kind of looks like All Might, but in his face-wise, he looks like, I don't know what he looks like, but he just looks funny. So we're getting introduced to the big three, and right now for the past couple of chapters, they've been talking about internships, and Mirio Toogata, he was like, instead of me talking and giving you this lecture, why don't I just show you? And just know when a character always says, instead of me talking, let me just show you my powers, because that's usually the formula for everybody's about to get that ass whooped. And because if you don't know anything about the character and the character's like, let me just show you my powers, it's usually, he's strong as hell. And he is strong as hell. But the thing is, what makes him special, he's not strong as hell as his quirk is naturally strong as hell. Like, we've been introduced to Inasa, Bakugo, Todoroki. They've all had quirks that can do damage. They're powerful. But with Mirio Toogata, his purpose is showing you that your quirk doesn't have to be naturally powerful. You don't have to be able to control thunderstorms. You don't have to be able to, control blood in somebody's body. You can have a quirk that is not naturally strong and just form it into something that's naturally strong. So his quirk allows him to phase through objects and phase through the ground. And you think, okay, that's a decent quirk. But when he tells us that originally when he phases through stuff, he can't, his eyes, because when you go through ground, there's no light down there, so he can't see anything. His eardrums, sound phases through it. His ears can't vibrate and pick up sound, so he can't hear anything. And in order for him to use the quirk, he can't breathe. And even if he tried to breathe, the air would just phase through his lungs and his body, so he can't retain air. So basically, this man's blind, deaf, and he has to hold in his breath to use his quirk, which is ridiculous amount of things you have to think about when using a quirk. When you think of like Todoroki, if he wants to use fire, he just uses fire. When he wants to use ice, he just uses ice. I think this is kind of setting up for, Izuku, because, Izuku's one of the only people whose quirks really has a big backfire, as if he wants to go full strength, he'll break himself. So I kind of think this is where, he leads. This is bettering Izuku to learn how to take those negatives of his quirk and, work on it so that he can improve himself. So, but this man, Toogata, is killing it. He took out half of the students in 5 seconds. And, this chapter, he took out the rest of them in about another 10 seconds. So he basically finished off the whole freshman class in 15 seconds, which is crazy. And we haven't even seen what the other two can do. I kind of feel like it's setting up where their powers would just be just as crazy. But this also leads into something bigger, because the whole purpose of him showing him his powers was that, about working on your quirks during this internship process. And, Izuku starts thinking to himself, well, yeah, if I want to work on my quirk and become just as strong as this guy, because this guy took his quirk that, was not necessarily the best quirk and made it something great, I could do this too during my internship process. So he starts calling, he calls Gran Torino, who was his mentor for the other internship, and he was like, like an old man, like, what the fuck do you want, Sonny? Like, I'm busy right now. But so he mentions that, well, why don't you ask All Might? All Might has connections, and he was like, oh, really? Because even though All Might trains Izuku, he's not really that active into Izuku's like teaching him stuff. But so Gran Torino mentions that All Might had a sidekick, and even apparently Toogata knows the sidekick too, and his name is Sir, and I'm pretty sure this is the guy. And we get a scene of this man, and the lady says Sir, so I'm guessing that's the guy. And it doesn't really look like he would mash up well with All Might. All Might's kind of, all flamboyant and, out there with, his personality, while this guy looks more reserved and, his outfit doesn't even look that, all superhero-esque. But anyway, it's gonna be surprising, what happens in the future, what this guy's quirk is, Sir, what his quirk is, My Hero Academia is really turning around right now and getting up because, after One for All or All for All, whatever the evil guy's name is, after that arc, and All Might was taken down, the series was just coasting for a little while during that provisional exam. But I think now with the heroes, the Hero Association, the students, and also the Villain Association, it's gonna start picking up again to be something crazy. And I think everybody should start tuning into My Hero Academia for those who tuned out, because I think it's gonna start escalating to something that it was before when we were in that rescue arc. So, guys, that's all I got to say. Stay tuned. If you like what I had to say, please subscribe to the channel. Other than that, have a nice ass day.